as well as research, how you to write the research proposals. So this is a brief introduction about this 1 week content for this 1 week training program. So as today, we have our esteemed resource person, Dr. Ravinder Singh sir with us. So Dr. Ravinder Singh sir is a senior scientist at ICMR Medical, Indian Council for Medical Research, headquarters New Delhi. He has more than 2 decades research experience in the health research. So Dr. Ravinder Singh is a medical graduate from with a doctorate training in the public health. He is looking after the areas of mental health, disability, rehabilitation, and assistive technology in ICMR headquarters New Delhi. Dr. Singh is, he has completed his PhD from public health from adolescent health, like from JNU. And he is taking care of different projects, especially for the health technology related projects. So welcome you, sir, and thanks for your giving your valuable time to all the participants, and thanks for coming on this platform and enlightening from your experience and health research. So on behalf of organizing committee and on behalf of all the participants, on my own behalf, I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmender. Thank you once again.
I request participants kindly mute yourself. In the last, if you have any query, we can unmute you. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this 1 week research methodology program by Science Tech Institute. I think there are series of such programs which they are organizing. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So today we may be talking a little bit about study designs as the responsibility given to me. Although in the background we must know something a little bit about research questions, the research problem, the research questions, then objectives, and a little bit about hypotheses and those informations. But anyhow, we will try to do the justice to keeping those things in mind. And I hope we all know the basics of all these things. To do a good clinical or health research or medical research, there are certain principles which we must know. Otherwise, we keep on observing the things, but we never come to any conclusions. So science need the evidence, science need the evidence-based conclusions or the interpretation of certain events. So for that, we have certain set designs, set patterns, which we need to follow. And there are ways. The people who are new to the research area, they can do very simple kind of studies. But as we grow, as we have the experience, as we have the resources, we keep on going to the higher level of evidence creation. So, but then whatever we are going to discuss today would be the very basics of all those things, not going much into the details, because the research is not just theoretical, it is just practical. Do. Carry on, carry on, carry on. So that is the only mantra which we have to follow. We have to fail to learn or to move ahead. Until unless we take the steps, little baby steps, we cannot move ahead. So let us see what we can cover today, and I would be very brief. I will not be going into the jargon, complex jargon of the words or the technologies which are used in the research designs. So let me share my screen. I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir. Please, can you please share it on the slide some more?
I have done it. Is it not full screen?
Not yet. Yes, sir.
Is it okay now? Mine is in full view.
Sir, please go in the slideshow, sir.
No, slideshow I'm doing. Yes.
Just in the slides some more, sir. This one.
Slideshow mode. Yes.
Animation. This just behind. Yes. Slides. Design animations and then slides.
Is it okay? No? Not yet?
Not yet, sorry.
Yes, yes. Okay, please click on slideshow, sir.
This one, sir, now, upper side.
Is it okay?
Okay, I think there's some issue. You can reshare your screen, sir. Because it's moving, but this is not the flow. This one, sir. And there is a regarding this review. Yes, sir. This slide, so and then you can from beginning this.
Is it now? Okay.
I don't know why it is not moving. Okay. So please reshare your screen because I think.
Not yet?
Doctor, if you could please press F5 on your computer or the laptop, it will automatically come into slideshow mode.
F5. Is it now? Okay. My screen is full now.
Okay, so sir, I think you can reshare your screen once again, just after stop sharing and after that. Yes.
Doctor,
Yeah, now it's done.
Okay,
It
now
appeared.
please reshare your screen. Share again. Share the screen.
डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र,
Yes.
ये जो साइड में है सर से बोल दीजिए कैंसिल कर दें, हो सकता है हट जाए। वो जो नीचे स्लाइडें दिख रही हैं उसके ऊपर जो क्रॉस का है उस पर क्लिक कर दें तो
This cross, okay. Slides, then
no. Set from current slide, set up slides. So
First slide,
from beginning, yes.
corner, right corner.
Right, yes.
right corner.
Right corner.
There is a cross sign is given there. So
अभी भी नहीं चला?
अभी भी नहीं चला सर।
ये एक्चुअली सब PDF आई थिंक यहाँ पे आप इसको क्रॉस कर दीजिए एक बार।
चैट में शेयर करिए और डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र आप अपने
पीड़े पीड़े ले लो, पीड़े पीड़े से जाए तना
सर
के चीज लेगा वो
yes just
तो नहीं बेटा ठंड
डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र
yes
सर से पीडीएफ मांग लो और उसको
हम्म।
चैट स्क्रीन पे इसमें जो चैट में मंगा लीजिए फिर
वाले
उसको करिए।
okay just a minute
सुप्पा
Send you the
सुप्पा
sir can sir please share your this ppt to me I will
share it. Okay.
share it for you
बेटा ये पीड़ा से जा रहा मैं ना तो राजू खड़ा दलाल महाल में बाढ़ दिक्कत चले जाओ
इसी ईमेल पे मैंने भेज दिया है।
just a minute
आप ईमेल में चेक कर लो।
जी मैम इसका just
किधर कटा
is it visible
Yes, visible but same thing.
oh just a minute
Dr. Dharmendra, please cross this.
with this one
हाँ this one. हाँ
Yes.
तो ये सर भी ऐसे कर लेंगे हो जाएगा।
हाँ सर एक बार आप इसको फिर से वैसे ही करके जैसे यहाँ पे आपको हटाना है
हाँ सर बता दीजिए वहीं से हो जाएगा।
हाँ,
सर
just-
बोले वैसे करें।
सर कैन यू हियर मी सर
Sir, shall I say, sir? Sir, you
Yes.
can see in your screen
Hmm.
the cup shape below, toolbar below. You just click there. You get it the full screen. Cup shape. Cup shape. It is look like a cup. In the toolbar below, at the end, it's in the footer, not in the header. Footer below.
I know this no
Dr. Yadav sir.
yes
Call to
Yeah,
Dr. Ravinder sir
72%.
and this is sufficient.
Yes, you just click there.
Just click
Then
and
you get a
this
clear screen. Yeah.
सर इज देयर
हाँ जी
हाँ सर इसको थोड़ा सा आप ऐसे देखिए ना जस्ट अ मिनट अभी जैसे मैंने स्क्रीन शेयर किया ना तो यहाँ पे सर ये देख रहे होंगे ना आप स्लाइड में ये आपको क्रॉस दिखा रहा है ना
अभी शेयर करिए धर्मेंद्र शेयर करिए।
अच्छा ओके मैं शेयर कर रहा हूँ जस्ट आई एम शेयरिंग दिस
एक बार सर देख लेंगे।
हाँ
होता नहीं ऐसा पता नहीं कभी कभी
हाँ पता नहीं है ऑलवेज हो ही जाता है
अभी सर ये मैंने जैसे शेयर कर दिया स्क्रीन ऐसे उसके बाद अभी आ रहा है दिख रहा है
हाँ
तो ये सब ना यहाँ पे जैसे स्लाइड है आउटलाइन है यहाँ पे एक क्रॉस का साइन बना हुआ है
अच्छा
तो इसको आप ऐसे क्रॉस कर देंगे ना
हाँ
तो आ जाएगा
लेट मी ट्राई
इज इट विजिबल डॉक्टर सिंह
yes visible
okay so I am just stop the sharing please
लिया
yes please
तो मेरे को परमिशन देना पड़ेगा
हाँ हाँ प्लीज आप शेयर कीजिए।
रुक जा।
अभी आया?
अभी सर आप उस पे कीजिए। हाँ
स्लाइड शो, आप स्लाइड शो पे जाओ।
स्लाइड शो पे सर।
स्लाइड शो पे कर दिया।
अभी ये जो स्लाइड जो हाँ इससे पकड़ लीजिए, इससे पकड़ सर, इससे
यहाँ
पकड़।
पे सर स्लाइड शो, एनिमेशन देन स्लाइड शो।
हाँ नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट वन सर।
नेक्स्ट सर, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड शो, नेक्स्ट
नेक्स्ट।
एनिमेशन के पास नेक्स्ट स्लाइड शो दिस वन। हाँ स्लाइड शो देन बिगिनिंग।
हाँ ठीक है, इतना सही है, दिख रहा
आई
है।
थिंक इट्स ओके।
अभी आ रहा है, चलो ठीक है, नहीं हो लेट अस, अगर थोड़ा भी दिख रहा है तो चलेगा,
नहीं
क्योंकि
ठीक है।
इससे ज्यादा
Sir,
फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा।
Below
हाँ, हाँ।
letters are cutting.
विच लेटर?
सर
और
नीचे
नीचे-
की स्लाइड कट हो रही है सर।
No problem. This is sir will explain all these things slide to slide. Don't worry about that. I
ऊपर
can
नीचे
start.
कर लेंगे सर, ऊपर
We
नीचे
can
कर-
start, sir.
Scroll
चलो
करके कर
let
लेंगे।
us see. So anyhow, we will be talking about the types of study design used in research. What are their strengths and weaknesses of each of the study design, and what are their uses? So and whether any particular designs are required to answer any specific question. So they, based on the research problem and question, we use a design. It is not that randomly we pick up any design. And most of the time what happens is, you should not try the design first and then try to put a question around that. It is other way around. Only based on the problem we identified, we look for the appropriate study design. So it is always better that we should go through properly what are the problem, what is the research question, and then going into the objective, defining objectives and hypotheses. So basically health research can be lab research, which applies knowledge of basic sciences toward development of uh, procedures and strategies to prevent, control, and understand mechanism of health related phenomena. It is basically done within the walls of the any institute. And the epidemic research, where we do the study of outbreaks in within the population. So it goes beyond the walls of the institutes, and to identify what are the causative agents, what are the methods of transmission, how it is transmitted. Like very recently we have seen the COVID-19 pandemic. And also during these epidemic investigations or epidemic studies, we also try to find out possible control mechanisms or control measures. How can we control, whether we need to look at the source and then plug at the source, and whether we need to change the behavior of the people so that they don't go to the area which is where the chances of getting the infection or chances of getting any disease are more. Maybe it is like any infectious disease, or maybe any pollution related studies or pollution related areas. And then population field studies, study of where we do the study of distribution, determinants, control measures of health related phenomena in chosen populations, followed by the.
Are you changing the slide, because it's constantly only the first slide?
It is only the first slide I'm talking.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm.
So they also the population-based study also help in the generalization of the result. That means we collect the information from small sample size or from small number of people and try to extrapolate it to the other similar populations or maybe a larger population. So basically, the research methods or research designs help us in collecting information which may be applicable to other similar populations. We don't have to repeat all the queries in the other populations. We can just based on statistical methods, we can extrapolate all these, findings. So in any research studies or on the different research studies, we use data, and data can be primary or data can be secondary. Secondary data is which already has been gathered by somebody, or it is from the government records like our census data. So that is secondary data which we can analyze and try to find out certain observations which are relevant to our research questions. The primary data is where it is collected by any investigator. It is the first-hand information from the source, and the sources may be like medical examination.
Have you moved on from the title slide?
I'm in data collection methods.
So, sir, we are only able to see your title slide only. It hasn't moved since then at all.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
डरमेन इसको
Yes,
थोड़ा
yes.
करेक्शन देखिए कुछ यार, कहाँ से प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, इतना होता नहीं है.
Just a
It has
minute.
now moved down. It has moved down.
Okay. Yes, yes. From beginning. Yes,
करंट स्लाइड करिए, करंट
sir.
स्लाइड.
Yes, yes.
और मैक्सिमाइज, प्लीज डू मैक्सिमाइज सर, मैक्सिमाइज
Data
मैक्सिमम.
collection method. It has pop up.
Is it okay? Maximize तो मैंने I have done it. Is
I
it
think this there is too much of zooming out of the slide. That's how the problem is coming.
But if you click that current slide, it should show full. Yeah, that one.
Is it okay?
सर नीचे जाइएगा बिल्कुल,
Could you please scroll down, sir? Scroll down.
डाउन करके सर नीचे आप आएंगे ना, तो वहां पे लास्ट में आई थिंक जो आपका स्क्रीन का है वो ज्यादा हो गया है साइज, इस वजह से
It needs to be zoomed in.
यस
हाँ ठीक,
थोड़ा
Sir,
थोड़ा
excuse me, sir.
अभी दिख रहा है,
सर
अभी दिख रहा है.
राइट कॉर्नर में सर आवर ग्लास बना है, उस पे क्लिक करिए. यस सर.
I think we'll manage with this mode only because
Yes, sir, yes,
technical
sir.
problems many
There
times
only have
take
to click.
time and they don't get
Is it
resolved.
visible now?
हाँ, yes, readable. Yes, it is readable.
हाँ सर थोड़ा सा
Okay, I think there is some issues with the moving of the slides. You can share it with the other with all of them later on. We can just listen. Just try to understand the things. We will share the slides with you. You just try to make a note of whatever I am sharing with you. So these are all information that are available in the book, but the thing is just maybe because see based on the experience which we have got, so we will be telling you certain things which you will not find in the books. So don't concentrate on the screen, but what I'm explaining that should be your concentration should be there. So when we talk of the primary data, it is collected by any investigator from using the medical examination sheets or interviews or observations in the field, and the advantages of the primary data is that we can check out any errors in the measurement which may not be known to us in any of the secondary data. It will suit the objectives which we have defined, but the advantage being that we have to put up money. We need money. So most of the times you may not have the funds to carry out to collect the first-hand information or to collect primary data. So when we talk of the study design, it is a specific plan or a protocol. I moved the slide now. Okay, next slide. So study design is any specific plan or a protocol for conducting the study.
Sir, excuse me, the slide is not yet changed.
Sir, can you stop sharing? I just sharing the screen.
Okay.
Please stop. Yeah.
Yeah, now it is changed.
Now it is changing. Yeah, I'm just sharing the screen. Just a minute.
Actually, lecture is very nice, na? So all the
Is it,
participants
yeah,
want to.
just a minute. Dr. Singh, is it visible?
Yes, yes, visible.
It's a full screen.
Yes, it is a full screen. हाँ, second, third.
Yes.
यार इस तरह नहीं धर्मेंद्र, जैसे अपने आप उसको बढ़ाते जाएं, अपने आप होता जाए ना।
अपने आप से तो हो रहा है।
अच्छा अच्छा, जैसे ये नहीं अपने आप से। हाँ हो रहा है।
ठीक है ना।
ठीक ठीक।
Yes, yes, please sir, continue. I will just, when you say, I will change the slide.
So we are talking about the definition of study design. It is any specific plan or a protocol for conducting the study, which allows the investigator to translate the conceptual hypothesis into the operational one. That means sometime what happens, we have some idea about something, but that to convert that idea into actual evidence, we have to have a plan. So that plan is called study design. The choice of particular study design is fundamental decision in designing a research study to answer a specific research question. So basically, we again go back to the research question, and then according to we design any study. We put up the study design to answer that question. Next slide, please.
Just a minute.
Next, it's not moving.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, is it visible, sir?
Yes. So why do we need this study design or research design? Because it will help us in actually carrying out the study. That means the operations of the study, what next, and there are steps in carrying out that kind of studies. Then advanced planning of the method. What are the methods? Which means which are the methods which we are using, we will be using in the collection of the data. Then we will also have some idea about the available resources. Do we have the manpower, or do we ask for the fund for the having that manpower? What is the time with us? That means we have to think of that the study will be finished within a particular period of time, maybe 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, or depending upon the research question and depending upon the resources available and as well as the money part. And it is also helping the researchers to organize the plan. So basically it is a roadmap from a question to an answer, from research question to an answer, which is in form of a particular data or some sort of evidence. So this is very helpful. The study designs are very useful in answering those questions. Otherwise, it's very difficult to plan and then to execute and then to get the data and then do the interpretation part. So next slide, please. So basically, there are two type of study design, that is descriptive and analytic. So descriptive is the what is the prevalence of a condition Z in a specific population. That is descriptive, just having the data and just describing, having collecting some information and just describing that. Just simple as that. So which means it is called descriptive or observational. And then analytic is when we look at some data and then try to analyze it to lead to certain other answer also. Like what are the factors which are like maybe what are the causative factor for certain disease? Like we say tuberculosis. So first we study the how many patients are there in a defined population, and also trying to go into analyzing of the causative factor, Mycobacterium. So then, then correlating or analyzing that information to say that these many people were found to have the acid-fast bacilli or Mycobacterium based on the information which we have collected. So descriptive and analytic. Next slide, please. So study design will point out to the most appropriate analysis of data to answer the study. So the study design will also help in finding out the appropriate statistical method to analyze the data and to answer the research question. So descriptive would be where we calculate the proportion of population with condition, particular condition, in form of incidence or prevalence. That means the new cases or existence cases. And analytic is when we compare the frequency of condition, particular condition with other population group. So that means we look at some exposure factor, and then based on that exposure factor, we tell that this was the exposure factor in this much population, and this many people they developed certain disease as compared to the other group of population which was not exposed, but and also they do not have that kind of condition. So that is how we are analyzing the data, which is the primary data which is collected from any of the analytical studies. So next, please.
Sir, can you explain the descriptive and analytic that study design again with a few more examples?
Descriptive is just when we just look at certain condition, that's all. We don't go into the depth of that, what are the causative factor, how many people of other conditions are there. So that is just the description, which means either we are trying to calculate the incidence of the disease or the prevalence of disease. But in the analytical studies, we try to interpret certain other conditions also, or maybe trying to find out the causative factor also, or trying to compare two groups, that what are the difference in those groups. So that is the analytic is not simple description of a condition, but also trying to find out the other related issues with that condition.
Okay, sir.
So when we select the study design, the study design start with a good study question. What is the relevance of study design? So when we addresses relevance of the study design is when addressing the topic of significance to health of the local population. That means design will allow you to answer your research question. That would be the relevance of that particular study design. And the novelty of the study design will be, it will make meaningful contribution to existing knowledge. So providing the new insights. So design allows meaningful contribution to existing knowledge by having the new insights. And it should be feasible. That means either by the time, either by the manpower available, or by the resources available. So the study design should be, that they have only the design will help us in carrying out a study which is feasible, which is possible. It cannot be an endless study that you will have a 20-year study and 30-year study where you will then exhaust all the resources and would not be able to come out to any conclusion. So it should be feasible in the form of money, time, resources, as well as your expertise. Also, when we say that I want to do some study, I should also be able to, do justice to that by virtue of my expertise, by virtue of my background, my experiences, my study, my educational background. So I should not be touching any topic which is beyond my knowledge, beyond my
Sir, this study design and all should be done before data collection, or by looking at the data we will
Absolutely.
decide?
No, data collection comes much later. Study design will be your third, fourth or fifth step when you start planning for the study. That means when you look at any problem and then going on from problem to the defining of the questions or structuring a question based on that problem. What was the problem and what is the research question, and then going into the objectives part, and then appropriate hypothesis. After that, then you go for the study design. So study design is usually should be fourth or fifth step in your research project. Next.
So one question, please.
Research questions.
Hello, can you ask?
Hello.
You want to ask something?
Yeah, I want to get clearance about if we are
Research.
studying. So if we are studying the prevalence of cancer.
Madam,
and
can we
along-
take the questions in the last of the session, because it will.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so after the completing the session or in the break, in the meanwhile, we will take this, queries.
Let's go to the next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
So based on the whether we are collecting the data, whether we are collecting any qualitative information, the study designs are also classified into qualitative or quantitative. So again, the qualitative we will be talking, we will be touching in the later part of the this presentation, and we will be starting with the quantitative, where we are actually looking at some collection of some data. That means some numbers. So qualitative is only the information about the certain qualitative answers, but quantitative would be your numbers. So quantitative are again descriptive, observational or experimental studies. So we are not going into the very high level of studies which we will be, experimental or the randomized clinical trials are fall into in a higher group of studies where the level of evidence is much more as compared to descriptive or observational studies. So next slide, please. So quantitative designs, next please. So could be observational or could be experimental. Observational, again, it is like we just descriptive studies we talk. They do not involve any intervention or experiment. It is just collection of data without actually comparing or trying to interpret the reasons behind that phenomena. But in the experimental studies, that entail manipulation of study factor. That means we are actually doing some intervention in that experimental study, and randomization of subject to treatment or some intervention or exposure group. So in the experimental group, always there are two groups. One is the experimental group and control group. So we will be touching those different groups in next few slides. Next, please. So descriptive studies could be correlational studies, case report or cross-sectional surveys. So depending upon the characteristic of person or place, they will be providing some information. Descriptive correlation, next please. The correlational studies are where we describe the disease in relation to factor of interest, like in a particular age group, what are the health problems? In particular time, say in the winter months, what are the health problems which are happening in a particular population? So we try to correlate it with some other factors. then food consumption, whether particular eating particular kind of food will lead to.
Sir, 1 minute. Someone's mic is on, it's disturbing. Some hovering sound.
So I don't think we can check it.
Now it's fine, sir. Thank you so much.
Just a minute. Mute all, and I think Mukti is muted. Sanjay is mute. Just a minute. Sir, please unmute yourself.
So
yes.
So when we try to look at two factors and correlate them in observational studies, it is called correlational studies. So the mortality pattern of a coronary heart disease correlated with the per capita cigarette sale. Maybe we'll try to collect some information from a particular area and look at that how many people are buying the cigarette and how many of they are dying because of the coronary heart disease. So that kind of information is gathered from the correlation studies or interpretation is done. So the descriptive measure is correlation coefficient from +1 to -1. The strength of this kind of correlation studies is that it is the first step in any research hypothesis. That means they are helping us in refining our hypothesis and can be routinely collected as a surveillance program or registries. So they are easy to conduct and they are less resource intensive. That means not much financial resources are required to collect the information. It can be collected from the any of the hospital data also, or maybe some registries which are established by some institutions. So there the information can be gathered. But the limitations are that we are not able to link it with exposure to the disease because we are already looking at the condition which has been exposed. So we cannot just establish that the exposure has led to the health condition here. And there also inability to control the confounders. So there may be many factors which might be there in that particular population. So it would be very difficult to control all those factors and try to lead to any conclusion that this particular risk factor has led to this particular health problem. Next, please. So case reports and case series. So correlation studies are when the whole of the population or the larger part of the population is involved. But in case report or case series, we try to collect the information from an individual or group of patients. So a similar kind of health when we study the health condition in a number of patients. So that becomes a case series. One single information from one single patient in a detailed form is called a case report. So case reports are they can be published in a medical journal as a scientific evidence, but that is not a very high level of evidence. As I said, there is a pyramid, a research pyramid, evidence pyramid of research evidence, where the case reports or case series, they just come after the animal experiments. So animal experiment, maybe computer models, and then case reports and case series, then going into the case control study, observational studies, and then going into the experimental or other studies. They go into the higher, go in the higher of the pyramid of such evidence. The limitation, the strengths of case reports are which help in identifying the new diseases, and also help in the formulation of hypothesis. That means by looking at the health condition of certain patients, we can lead to certain conclusion that we have seen this condition in few of the patients who are coming from a particular area, and then we can go into the conclusion that maybe there are certain causative factor in that particular geographical area. So by designing a much better study, we can go to that geographical area and collect the information from the more number of patients so that whatever we have hypothesized, we can collect the evidence for that, or prove it or disprove it. The limitation of case report or case series are that they cannot test the valid statistical associations, because it's a very limited number of information, or maybe single person information, where we cannot do the statistical associations. So experience of few people, few persons, and lack biological plausibility. That means it's not a very good evidence to lead to any conclusion. Next, please. So clinical case series is usually a coherent and consecutive set of cases of a disease or similar problem which derive from either the practice of one or more health professional or defined healthcare setting. That means in a hospital, whatever patients are coming, we are collecting the data. So then that becomes a clinical case series. A case series is effectively a register of cases. That means all the patients coming to a particular OPD, like maybe hypertension OPD or diabetes OPD or cancer OPDs or pediatric OPD, the similar kind of patients become a clinical case series. They are of a value in epidemiological for studying symptoms and signs of particular disease, whether the patients coming with the particular disease have this kind of sign and symptoms, and creating the when we talk of the clinical case series, we actually talk of the hospital based OPD data. So next slide, please. So population-based case series is a complete when we go into the population and collect the information from a similar kind of patient from a field area, not from the hospital setting. So it's a complete information for a defined geographical area for which population it is effectively a population based case series consisting of population register of the cases. Epidemiologically, the most important case series are registries of serious diseases or deaths, usually NCDs, and of health service utilization or hospital admission. So they are usually compiled for administrative and legal reasons. So population-based, we can say population-based registries. If the example of that population-based registries is our cancer registries in India, National Cancer Registry under the National Cancer Registry program. So there we are collecting the information for last many years, and that has led to a very good evidence based for finding out the cancer cases in a particular area, or to organizing any services for that particular area. India has got, that is the best kind of information which is available in India, National Cancer Registry Program. So based on the series of the cases from the field area. Next, please. So what is the requirement for interpretation of a case series? To make sense of case series data, the key requirements are the diagnosis, or for the mortality, the cause of death. So the health problem or the cause of death. The data when the date when the disease or death occurred. So we need the time when the death has happened, the place where person lived. So particular or worked, the occupation related hazards can be found out from that kind of information. The characteristics of the person, what was his physical structure, whether person was obese, what was the height and weight of the patient, whether he was sedentary worker. So all those characteristics of person would also be required for reaching the interpretation of for reaching the the meaningful interpretation of the data. Opportunity to collect that additional data from medical records. So we can also try to find out if the person has availed certain services from certain hospital or from the health settings. So whether that information is of any relevance in our case defining of that case series. The size and characteristics of population at risk would also be helpful in defining that health condition which a person may or may be suffering. Next, please. So case series data can be linked to other health data, either in past or the future. Like maybe mortality data can be linked to hospital admissions, including at the birth and childhood, cancer registration, and other records to obtain information on exposures and the disease. So case series data can give us certain other information also. So they may be contacted for additional. So in case there are certain doubts, so if a data has been kept meticulously or the contact number of patient is available, we can contact back, then do the follow-ups and find out what has happened to that patient, or what are the additional information which we can take from collect from the that person. Like in the COVID-19 situation, early in the COVID-19, we did lot of first-hand information. We collected lot of information from the patients who were exposed and who got RT-PCR done. So we contacted back and asked certain questions, whether they what kind of place they went before they got the disease, whether they were what kind of food they were taking. So so many of those conditions we ask and try to interpret, and also whether they have taken any medicines, whether they have taken chloroquine or not, or whether they have taken a certain other maybe homeopathic medicines, something like that. The data was again collected and it was published, and we were more wiser by getting the feedback from the patients. So this type of action may turn. So we can say that from the case series design into a cohort design. We are actually may not have the time to talk about the cohort design today in our session, but the case series design can be converted into cohort design. That means we collect information from a particular group of persons and then follow up them, because now we have a group which has a similar characteristics, and follow them up for a particular defined period, maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and just collecting the information in a series form on a regular basis, that become the cohort design. And in the cohort design, sometimes we do intervention also. So that means we add some factor and try to find out whether it is making any change. Like maybe we add yoga to the sedentary worker and try to find out whether their health conditions have changed among them or not. So it all depends upon the investigators to do that kind of intervention or to do that kind of manipulations during whatever they are observing. So this is a very good example of converting your simple design into a very complex or high evidence study. Next, please. So now the cross-sectional studies, most common form of the cross-sectional studies are the surveys. We can say that some sort of surveys which measures all variable on a participants at same point in time. So that is a cross-sectional surveys at a one point of time. So collecting all the information from a particular group of people. So where we measure prevalence or try to calculate the prevalence of the disease, not the incidence, because for the incidence, the methodology would be different. So in a cross-sectional study, always we try to get the prevalence of a particular situation. Next, please. So in a defined population, we look at the exposed and we look at the not exposed, and then try to look at the disease among the exposed and deceased among the non-exposed, and also try to find out who are not diseased among the exposed and who are not diseased among not exposed. So it is all the interpretation of the data which will be later on done. So we will be just going into particular field and collect the data on the outcome of the disease and exposure. That means whether they were exposed to certain risk factors or not. So simple design, but then doing the interpretation in a different form, different interpretations can be done of the same population. So very simple cross-sectional study where the exposed and not exposed, and then among the exposed, deceased, not deceased, and then among the not exposed, deceased and non-deceased would give us a lot of information on the causative factors. Next, please. So strength of the cross-sectional studies is very simple, that they provide information on prevalence. They also help in designing the hypothesis or formulation of hypothesis. They provide answer to question like, is it animal, vegetable, or a mineral? Whatever. Is it because of some causative factors? Is it because of eating something, or it is because of some nutritional intake? The health condition is happened. So who, when, where. But this cannot test etiology and cannot be alternate to the analytical designs. So cross-sectional will give us very simple information. Next, please. In the case control study, next. So the characteristics of the case control studies are that there are two source in populations. That means maybe the population group is same, but there are two different sets of population which we are studying. Assuming that the non-cases are representative of source population of cases. So controls, non-cases are the controls, and the exposed, which are called cases. So merit of this case code studies are they are least expensive. Again, like the cross-sectional study, they are not very expensive. They are also less time consuming. They are suitable for study of rare diseases because we can focus on particular group of people where this disease has happened. which may be of rare in nature. So limitations are that it is not suitable for rare exposures. Maybe good for rare diseases, but for rare exposure, because then the sample size would be very, very high, because we have to get the adequate number of people who are exposed. So in the rare exposures, the adequate sample size would be difficult to find. They are liable to have selection bias and recall bias, because you cannot depend on the memory of the patients. So there are always the dangers of having recall bias or selection bias by even the researchers. Not suitable for calculation of frequency measures. So the case control study will not help us in the frequency measures, that how frequently this disease is happening, because that this will be only one time data collection in. So next, please. So there are set of cases usually from health services, and then comparable set of controls which may be from various sources. So cases means we take it like maybe from hospital setting or maybe from the field area, but with the knowledge that these are the people who have certain health conditions, and the controls where that the condition is not there or the disease is not there, but otherwise they are similar in the characteristics. All other characteristics should be similar, like age, sex, geography, and all those factors should be matched with the exposure cases or those who are experimental group. So both groups are evaluated on the characteristics or the exposures of the interest, and compare the distribution of exposure in cases as well as the controls. So we try to balance it out by saying that the controls were not having the same condition. Maybe they were exposed, but we try to look at the reasons for the controls not having that condition, or maybe just looking at the two groups, we try to answer the questions: what were the difference among these people which led to particular health problem or disease among them. Next, please. So in the case control study, we have cases which may have exposed. We can look at from the data, and they were not exposed to certain health risk factor. And similarly, the controls which were exposed and which were not exposed, but whether they have any health problems or not. Next, please. So issue in the design and conduct of the case control study is that we should define them very properly and accordingly select them. That there should be a homogeneous group. It cannot be heterogeneous group. So the subjects or the cases should be included based on the strict diagnostic criteria, that they are they should be diagnosed by very by the investigations which are of standard in nature. That means you cannot take a sample investigations from 2, 3, 4 labs and try to say that these people we have included, they have that similar findings in the lab investigation. So there are strict diagnostic criteria which are used to define a case, and then hospital based or population based. So generally the cases are taken from the hospital based settings, and then we should also be looking at the validity or generalizability of the data. And then selection of control is the most difficult and critical. So the controls should be comparable to the cases. So though they are very difficult to find out. Most of the time what happens in the OPD settings, we take the controls from the relatives of the patients. But we have to be very careful whether they are matching in all the aspects with the patient's characteristics or the case's characteristics or not. So there are also then sometime there are certain conditions where we have to include or recruit more number of controls as compared to the cases. So for one case we have multiple controls. So that also you have to decide when you are planning to do a case control study. Next, please. So there are again, I think we were talking about the bias. There are different type of bias in any of the settings, study settings. As we have to, as a researchers, we have to be very careful about the, bias. Some of the bias are from the researcher side.
So can we take a 5 minutes break? If after that we can.
Yes, sure, no problem.
Okay, sir. So after 5 minutes, we will meet and start again. So can we start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes. So I think we were there at the bias level. So it's very important to remove the bias, though it's very difficult. But the bias in any of the research studies are the game spoilers. So there could be the selection bias, there could be observation bias. So just like I was telling that the bias could be from the researcher side, bias could be from the respondent side also. So selection bias is when we have to select the number of people from a particular group. So when and that selection is not done properly, or maybe we include only those people where that condition is there, so that we have not randomized them. So trying to overdo it. That means say we want to look at the prevalence of hypertension in an area, and we include only the patients which have hypertension by knowing that their backgrounds. So there is a selection bias, or maybe from taking from the hospital settings in an OPD where maximum number of patients are coming from the hypertension. Then later on interpreting that, see, in this area, without telling that the patients were taken from the hospital setting, then saying that the prevalence of hypertension is very high in this particular geographic area. So similarly, then doing then maybe the observation bias. So whatever we want to see, we are seeing only at that. We included the patient randomly, but the observation of the symptom or the conditions are biased. So again, that will also lead to faulty interpretation or unjustified results. The recall bias is from the subject side, from the respondent side. So there are always the recall bias. There are always the methods to remove these sort of selection bias, observation bias, or recall bias by putting the question in a different format, being smart enough in the field, but then when we are dependent on the field investigator or the people who are not very smart enough, so we will not get the good information, not get the authentic information which would help us in interpretation of a very good quality data. So misclassification when we are not randomizing them or non-randomizing them, the cases and controls are not sent to the particular groups by doing the proper randomization. Next, please. Next. So there is an example that does children inhalation of hairspray facilitate development of asthma. Suppose this is the research question, and then we see that 50 new cases of severe asthma identified in a primary health center in a 12-month period, where the age of all the children was less than 5 years. So these cases were compared to the 90 children of again less than 5 years attending PSC for orthopedic surgery, so who do not have asthma. So case and control are compared on a maternal hairspray use since child's birth. So then we can say that whether the exposure of hairspray has led to asthma or not. So we can design the question, and then based on that question, what need to be done, that can be designed in a study. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next, not moving. Dr. Dharmender. So then when we look at the children with asthma, then we also look back, go retrospectively, and in the history, we ask them whether the hairspray was used or no hairspray was used. Similarly, with the children who did not have asthma, again, the exposure and non-exposure can be looked at among them. Next, please. Next. So the study in which the data can be analyzed using conventional statistical methods are called quantitative studies, which we have discussed in our previous slides. Next, and let us talk about little bit on the qualitative studies. So they are used to gain information in domains such as attitudes or the behavior. Qualitative studies are used to find out the behaviors of the population, not the numbers, but the kind of responses or the behaviors they are seen in a particular community or in a geographical area. The information is using unstructured open-ended interviews. So there are no structured questionnaire. Only thing is there are certain hints which we take to the field when we are trying to do the interview for the qualitative studies, or the questions that cannot be analyzed using conventional statistical methods. So there are certain questions which are in form of a statement by the respondents, or answers to the questions are in form of a statement, not in a number, yes or no, 1 or 2, 3, or there is no weightage to those answers. The subject and not the researchers determine the content of the information which is collected. So that means when we ask the questions, the answer provided by the respondents are decided by them. We don't lead them to answer any particular question. So qualitative studies are very useful for generating hypotheses, or rather they are used to generate the hypothesis where there is not much information in the data. So they basically by looking at a few number of responses, we can design our hypothesis for that particular. Next, please. So there is a one question asked by somebody that why the patient with asthma will go not. It is not the patients of asthma which will go to. We are taking the similar kind of children from the orthopedic OPD and trying to find out whether they were exposed or not. So it is not the asthma patient which we will be collecting from the orthopedic OPD. Okay, so looking at the qualitative research techniques, there are various qualitative techniques which are used to collect information. So by participant observation, it is called a field notes, and then interviewing or doing the focus group discussions, FGDs, it's called. Interviews are also called as in-depth interviews. That means we try to interview few people and go into the depth of the knowledge, whatever they have, or collecting few similar type of people for doing the group discussion and trying to get some relevant information from those discussions. Also, the qualitative method may also be like going through the videos or text or image analysis or documents and trying to get there are ways to analyze the video contents or video videos for reaching to the some conclusions. Also, there are surveys which are not quantitative. Those surveys can give you the qualitative information, as well as by contacting the users. Next, please. So when the qualitative methods are used, so the person who is sitting there among the respondents has to be very smart enough in observing the answers or the replies of the respondents. So it has to very good skill of the researcher is required in that kind of settings. So they should be able to converse them freely, involve the respondents or the interviewers, interviewees for getting the kind of information which they want, and then participating with them. They should be sitting among them and behaving like they are also among the uh, part of that group, and then also at the same time trying to interpret. Suppose there are some responses by some people, then the interpretation has to be done then and there. He should get the clarification from the respondents then and there. What do you mean by saying this? So how do you define it? How do you explain it? So those kind of techniques are used by the interviewers in qualitative methods. Next, please. So qualitative techniques in the participatory observation or in the participants observation, the researchers are trying to get information about their cultural patterns to determine what is necessary and needed in the tool. That means, suppose we want to develop an interview tool. So those whatever the content of that tool are required. So that is developed by using the participant observation method. In the in-depth interviews or the focus group discussions, we try to explore how the tools are used and could be used in the novice programming course. So again, it is related with the tools, that the tools should have these set of questions which will help us in designing the better programs. It also helps us in gain insight into the meanings of tools for students for learning to program. So maybe students or maybe some other groups of people from where we can understand what are the contents which are required for getting the information from them later in a better structured quantitative studies. Next. So data analysis is based on the themes arising from the data, would provide insight into current learning to the program, issues, and see what is important to the students, teachers, or the administrative. The data is analyzed by doing certain qualitative analysis, not the quantitative. Here no weightage is given that this many people give this kind of response. No, the analysis is in form of that overall what is the gist of the conversation which has happened with our target populations. So there also the survey in qualitative surveys, they are useful for verifying results on a larger scale, or in the user testing. Again, we collect some qualitative information and then try to triangulate the results. That means we try to find out the meaning from the incoherent data which is provided by the people. Because when we go to a field using the qualitative methods, the people may not be responding in the way you want. They have their own way to answer the questions, whatever you are asking. But it is up to you later on to triangulate that data and try to see what the meaningful information you can gain from that. Next, please. So the rigors in the qualitative data or research are dependability, the credibility, transferability, and conformability. So there are always the questions which are raised about the qualitative data, about its dependability. That means how dependent the information is, the credibility, how much credibility we can put to those kind of questions, whether they can be transferred, they can be extrapolated to some other similar sort of research groups, and whether we can confirm them or not. It would be very difficult to confirm the similar responses from the other groups also. So qualitative data are very specific to that particular geographical area from where the information is collected. Next, please. So in the beginning, I said that the choice of design will always depend on the kind of research questions, what are our goals, and again the researchers' beliefs and values. So either I think it should not be deciding factor in this choice or selection of the design. The researcher skill definitely would help us in design, and also the availability of time and funds. Next, please. So it is also related to the status of existent knowledge. That means a design would also help also be based on whether some information is available, occurrence of disease, the number of cases. That means if the cases are not there, then you cannot do the justice to whatever information you want to collect. Duration of latent period. That means suppose that there is an exposure to certain disease, and then that patient or the person is in a latent stage, the disease has not happened or the symptoms are not visible, then again your design will not help you in getting the right kind of information. So again, the availability of other information and available resources will also help you in choosing the design. Next, please. I think this is the information related to the designs, and if the next time, I think we should talk about the cohort studies as well as the randomized control trial, which are very much rigorous in the designing and evidence-based creation.
So we have this next session, and that is day 3 on some extension of this research designs and some other aspects also. So we will cover all these things in the day 3. So I think yes, this study material like PPT and this video recording has been provided to you on your email. So so you are okay. I have the PPT, so don't worry about that. So I think we can take some questions from the participants.
Yes, sure.
You can take from it from the chat box, as well as you can unmute yourself also, participants.
So hospital data is not a biased data. Only thing is there is one question whether the collection of data from the hospital is a bias. No, it depends upon the kind of question you have asked. Suppose you want to say that you want to study hospital-based hypertension cases or the compliance of the antihypertensive, then there is no bias. You have already explained that what kind of patients you are going to take, what observation you are going to do, what compliance you want to see. So it all depends upon your own research question, which you have asked in the beginning.
Hello.
Sir, I have a question.
Hello. Can I have a question with sir?
Yes, yes, please ask.
Sir, what should be the ratio for case control study? Exactly. There's some
Generally, most of the cases it is 1:1.
1:1.
1:1. It's acceptable. But in some cases, you can go into 1:2 or 1:3 or 1:4. But then you have to justify that why it is, or you have to actually look at the literature that this kind of condition what could be, because sometimes the controls are not available. So we do have the then we do take historical control. In some of the other studies, the similar kind of controls were taken. So you take that information and compare it with whatever cases or experimental group you have.
Sir, I have cited few articles which have case control ratio as 1:1 and 1:2 also. So for my study, which will be the better one, sir?
No, it depends upon the question you have asked. It is not that it is 1:2 is better or 1:1 is better.
Okay.
It is based on the condition which you are trying to study.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Can I
as you
ask a
said-
question?
Can I have a question now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, myself, Dr. Farah. First of all, thanks a lot, Dr. Singh. It was really an informative lecture. It's actually a replenishment of our basic research. Okay, so my question is, in the very earlier slide of yours, you talk about secondary data collection method. Doctor, could you please put some light on the drawbacks of the secondary data collection, just in terms to maintain the validity of the research?
It is not always the disadvantage of collecting, looking at the secondary data. It is again what you need to, what you want to answer. So suppose you want to look at the National Family Health Survey. Okay, so you cannot say that that survey was done with malintention or which was not done with the robust technology or technique. Okay, robust tools were not used. So it is up to you for what purpose you want to do that. The only disadvantage of secondary data is that you cannot manipulate the conditions which were studied in that data. Okay, so it is you are dependent on whatever they have collected. You are dependent on that and interpret that information into the way you want.
So there is no such limitations, right?
There is no such limitation, because everybody will be collecting the data as per their knowledge, as per the best resources they are available. So we cannot doubt their integrity. Okay, until unless yes, some blunder has been done, and then you can say that this data is of no use for me. I will collect my own data.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. One more thing is there. You talk about the descriptive and analytical study. And there you told that in descriptive, we only put frequencies and percentages, while in the analytical aspect, we go for this, correlations.
Yes.
Doctor, this was in terms of statistics. What is your opinion in terms of research?
In statistics, I do not understand.
No, Doctor, as you say that in analytical study, we are doing correlations, right? Regression analysis, for example, right?
Yeah, Dr.
Associations,
Dharmender is saying that it will be covered in next sessions.
Sample size. Yeah, yes, madam, can you repeat your question?
My question is about descriptive and analytical study in terms of research instead of statistics.
Yeah. So it will be covered in the session day after tomorrow.
Okay, my last question from Dr. Singh, last question. Doctor, in slide number 20, you told that cohort study can be sometimes interventional, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Doctor, I think as per my information, cohort, the intervention, it is a characteristic feature of cohort studies. So can you please give me any example
No.
that
Cohort
I can find
is
out?
generally cohort is a follow-up of a group of people up to a certain level for a certain period
like
of
before
time.
and after study. Before and after study
No,
also.
not before and after. we start from the point now, point
Huh?
0, and then following it up, them up to maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 10 years.
Without doing any intervention, then what
Without
is the
doing
use
any
of,
intervention, it is a
so what is
cohort
the use
of
of
people
just
which
follow-up?
is
If there
studied.
is no intervention in cohort study, doctor, if there is no intervention, so what is the use of again and again reaching to the study participants?
It is called the study of the natural process of any disease, to find out what is the natural course of that disease which has happened among these kind of people. So without interfering, without doing any intervention.
Any
But
intervention.
sometimes we have some
for the more
intervention.
details, so madam, we can have another session the day after tomorrow, so you can discuss all these things, because today is the first day, and I think there are more, participants. They are waiting for the queries. So.
Sir, one query,
Take your time.
sir.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah,
Thank you,
please,
Dr.
please.
Sir, what is the difference between descriptive and observational study?
Same.
Yes, sir. Both of them are same.
Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt. Actually, I'm currently doing a cross-sectional study, and also which is like checking a prevalence of condition, and also I'm just checking the factors associated with it. So this is a descriptive.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sir, what are the research techniques in qualitative study design?
What is?
What are the research techniques in qualitative study designs?
Qualitative techniques, there are just participatory observation, in-depth interviews, fixed focus group discussions, and also it is called
Focus group discussion, sir?
FGDs, IDIs, and
focus
FIIs.
discussions I have mentioned. So that is
Sir, can I ask a question now?
Yes.
Sir, you told in descriptive study, we can formulate a hypothesis, and in qualitative, generate a hypothesis. What's the difference between both, sir?
In a qualitative study, we generate hypotheses where the information is not available for particular condition, for particular health problem. So to generate the hypothesis that yes, this in other kind of situation where you have enough information on particular health, you design the hypothesis. What do you mean by hypothesis? It is basically assumption or a roadmap.
Yeah, right.
Suppose I want to go from Delhi to Jaipur. So in my mind, I will select a route. I will select the vehicle also. Okay. So that is what the hypothesis is. So it may or may not lead you to reach there. But I have to first decide that I will be going by train, I will be going by plane, I will be going by road, by car. So similar in a question, that also is, decided beforehand. So that decision beforehand is called the hypothesis. Okay. So it's assumption.
Okay. So what's formulation?
Sir.
So formulation is when see, based on some information from collecting from somebody. Suppose I don't know how to go to in the same route, so I will ask it from few people. यार मतलब तुम कैसे जाते हो, मेरे को बताओ, तुम गाड़ी से गए थे क्या, 4 घंटे लगे थे, 6 घंटे लगे थे, और उससे जल्दी पहुंचने का क्या तरीका है? So that is kind of generating hypothesis rather than asking the question, अच्छा भैया मेरे को 4 घंटे में पहुंचना है, मैं ट्रेन से, बस से या किससे जाऊं? ठीक है, और कौन सा मेरे को यहाँ से कौन से गांव पड़ेंगे, सो दैट मैं अपने रूट पे जब जा रहा हूँ तो मेरे को पता लगे कि मैं सही रूट पे जा रहा हूँ.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Doctor,
good evening, sir.
Kind of.
I have a question.
Sir, can you explain what's ratio? What's ratio?
That will be covered under statistics.
Okay, sir.
Doctor,
how
is
case
this
series
kind of
into
study, qualitative and quantitative study, is it mandatory to generate hypothesis?
No mandate. There is nothing mandatory. It is up to you. For
Okay, thank you,
doing a
sir.
quantitative study, you
Mhm.
are not first supposed to do a qualitative study to generate hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
It is all based on the literature review. You
Okay.
find that the enough information is not there to generate a hypothesis. So that's why you go for the qualitative study.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Sir,
So
can we have
when we are doing a
cross-sectional
prevalence
studies?
study,
Can we have analytical cross-sectional studies?
For prevalence,
No, I mean, just describing the prevalence will be a cross-sectional
just a
descriptive
cross-sectional
study.
study. That's all.
Yeah, but can they cross-sectional studies can be analytical also?
No.
Okay.
sir, in a
to
prevalence
calculate
study,
the
is it
incidence, what
necessary
kind
to
of
generate
study
a
we should
hypothesis?
use?
Sorry.
So for
There is a
prevalence, sir, in case of prevalence study, do we need to specify the hypothesis?
no. No. In a prevalence study, you don't have to actually do the
Yeah,
hypothesis.
because most of the times when we give
Absolutely.
the
You are right.
thesis
You are right.
topic, yeah,
Yes.
so we are told that you cannot be giving a hypothesis.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, to calculate the incidence of any disease, what kind of study design we should adopt?
You have to look at the new number of cases in a particular time period. You define
Okay.
that
Sir,
in a year how many new cases have happened. So that's why where whatever geographical area you want to include, you have to randomly select the new cases from that area by using a robust technique for picking up the cases.
Sir, can we calculate incidence rate on the basis of hospital-based record data?
No, because hospital is not the right type of catchment area for you to have incidents.
Okay.
You can
Sir,
say
if
that
there is
incidence in a hospital, but not
okay,
from that
we,
geography. It's
sir,
not a
if we have
good choice.
only sorry, sir, I'm interrupting you. Sir, if I have only positive cases from some domain or some area, then what could be the best statistical parameter to explain the criteria and the design and the disease?
Positive cases means you just do the prevalence part. Yes, these many cases in a particular period, you could find that many cases in a particular geographic area.
Yeah, yes, sir. But we cannot say that it's a prevalence because it is a record based that the
Just say the
people came to
burden.
hospital.
You can just say the burden. You can just say that.
Okay. So is it an appropriate term to say that it's a burden? Burden is more synonymical to the prevalence of the
Burden
disease.
is basically loose term which is used, not the prevalence. Prevalence is a very scientific term.
Yes, sir. So for the record-based data, what is the best statistical parameter to explain the record-based data?
Parameters mean?
Means suppose if we have cross-sectional, so we can calculate the prevalence. If we have case and
you can collect, you have to, suppose you use a tool, you have certain predefined parameters which you study. Okay. So you may not interpret all the parameters later on whenever you are doing the analysis of the study. But at least you should overdo some more parameters and interpret only which you have listed in your objectives.
Okay. So for the record-based data, we must have objective to analyze the data.
Absolutely. Without objective, you cannot move ahead.
Okay.
Sir, I think
thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so we will take your questions in the next session that we cover the day after tomorrow. That is more detail on the study designs. So I have shared the email of sir, so you can directly ask.
Yeah, you can. They can send me the question.
Yes. So with this, now we have to wind up this today's session. And thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful session. We have covered almost many things. I hope it has the participants have get benefited from it. So thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Dharmender. Bye. Good night.
Thank you so much. We will
sir.
meet tomorrow. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
presence of light वाला है ये